And I totally agree. I think skill level, even some of our players or players around the region in Southeast Asia, right, may even compare to the top players in the world. But what set the top players apart is their mentality. So when you fall, what do? Do you sink further down, or do you get up, go again, go again, go again? So that actually sets apart the best and the rest.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Real Talk Real Estate. And today we have our special guest who doesn't need any introduction. He's the Singapore captain in our football team. He has won many medals for our country and his own personal development in his own clubs. He has did marvelous job. And we're going to talk about his personal achievements, his goals moving forward as he inch slowly towards retirement. And most importantly, he has special news for you in terms of the real estate market. Do you want to know a little bit more from a successful personality? Stay tuned towards the end of this podcast. So without further ado, let us welcome Hariss Harun.
Hey, hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So like what I mentioned to you, we have did this many times. Yeah. And, personally, I feel like, I'm still in shock. Okay, Hariss Harun, I'm going to ask you the first question, right? Yeah. This is a little bit off script. Why are you here? Because why do you spend time to actually come down for this podcast?
Well, I think it's always good to meet people of different fields. I've always been in and around football, sport, generally almost my entire life. When something about real estate or something of this sort, to the opportunity to talk about something other than football comes about, I want to jump on that. It's part of personal development, but part of learning as well. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing, and I think above everything, to have a good time talking to you. Yeah.
So what was your thought process when a random weird creepy guy, right, actually slide in your DM? Yeah. What was the thought process? Like, hey, is this guy a scam or something?
Of course, you send me the links and all that, right? I'll check it out naturally. And also I've heard about the podcast before as well.
Oh.
And
from your fellow friends.
Yeah, of course. And also
yes. We are going global.
And I've checked it out myself as well. So I was like, okay, why not give it a go? It's going to be a good time. I've done a couple of podcasts before, but it's mainly for football, for the national team and for my club side, and it was good fun. So I was like, why not try in a different perspective in terms of real estate. Yeah.
So I think moving forward at this, I think about 17 episodes that we recorded, right? Mm-hmm. I rarely spoke about the reason of why we call it Real Talk Real Estate. So I guess the name already suggests that you're just sharing about real stories about real estate. And you're one guy that, I don't know, I've seen pictures on in Johor that you have a really nice landed property. You've been enjoying that kind of space. So we just want to pick your brains about it in the later part. Mm-hmm. But I think right now the audience and myself is like very, very excited in terms of, the whole football story since you were a really young kid, 16 years old. I don't know whether the audience can feel it through the cameras or not, but this guy really has an aura. I mean, like, I've spoke to quite, prominent people as well. And probably, sometimes I just see like your pictures, your advertisements and everything. Yeah. But real life meeting you, right? 1.78 meters. But I tell you, this guy is like radiating that kind of energy already. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's like creating that kind of like nervousness in me, Okay, so basically a lot of people are, for guys especially like me, we grew up, we love soccer, we love football, and everybody at a certain point of time really wants to be a footballer until things get tough. Like in Singapore, let's be real, studies come first, parents pressure. It doesn't make sense to be a footballer, but obviously you have surpassed such odds and you become a successful footballer, not only in skills but also in terms of salary wise, is something that I think most people would be very, very proud to be earning that kind of money. So you kind of go against the flow of what people say, footballer cannot make money and that kind of thing. So I just want to pick your brains a little bit. Let's start with building up from, at how old you started kicking a ball?
Well, I think if I can remember clearly, I was about 6 or maybe even younger when I started to first kick a ball. I still remember it was back in my grandparents' Toa Payoh shop house. They used to have a shop house back then in the mid-90s. I was still very young boy then. always played football with the kid next door. His parents had a fruit shop as well. So his name was Kenneth, a Chinese boy by the name of Kenneth. So we used to play almost every single day, every single time. They had to actually drag us away from the void deck and get back home to go and take a shower or go to bed. So that was when I started to actually kick a ball. But also it was a knock-on effect from my father and my uncle. We were all living together in Toa Payoh, and they
in the shop house.
in the shop house, and then it was a family business, right? So
downstairs commercial, upstairs residential.
Yes, and we watched football together, and they were all like Liverpool fans, so that explains why my affiliation with Liverpool, my support for them.
We just lost 20,000 views after you said that.
I'm sure you'll gain 50,000 in the future. So.
Oh yeah, from the menu side. Okay.
So yeah, it basically on the family side, it was a lot of interest and passion for football from my father, from my uncle. So it naturally knock on to myself and my brother as well, my younger brother. So yeah, it was football all the way for me. Found a lot of joy, kicking a ball around with friends, with my brother. And it has been ever since. I'm glad to say till this day, I still enjoy playing the game. Yep.
I see. Okay. So before 16 years old, right, that was your big break.
Yep.
But building up towards it is going to be very tough. The reason why I asked this question, right, because there's many of the parents, who have kids, right, and also the kids themselves, they are, working towards being a footballer. And with social media, they feel a little bit more. There are people documenting their experiences, before turning pro. Back then you don't have such luxury. You don't have a mirror. Like probably the only guy you probably know is like, oh, Fandi Ahmad did it, so I can possibly did it. So how did you manage to so young talent for sure? Do you know you had talent from young, or it was a process that you realized?
For me, I don't know, to be honest, I didn't really think too much when I was young. I think I was maybe about 10, 11, 12 years old when my father actually, I think, realized that I had some kind of passion for football, some kind of talent for football, but he didn't it was like the tough love kind of way of nurturing me.
Okay.
It was not like sayang, like
I'll tell you that you're good. And
yeah, he didn't tell me that I was good or anything, but he showed it through his actions. He would take me to trainings. He would emphasize, like, he would die say that you cannot neglect your studies. You have to study in order to play football. If in a way there was even threats like, if your results drop or you compromise your schoolwork, you are not going to play football. So me being that young boy, right, I love football so much. I enjoy playing it. I did not want to stop playing football, So I was like, okay, let's do the bare minimum. Let's just get through class, just get through the exams,
Yeah.
everything. So every time I get my exam result, I'll be like, not the top student, but I'll be like, happy, like heng, like I just clear my exam and all that, so I can play football still. So it was like this till maybe I was like in secondary school, like Sec 2, Sec 3. And I was more involved in the national youth teams, where I actually thought to myself that, hey, look, I have a chance to actually go pro here.
Right.
And make something out of a football career, So, but never for once did I think about the salary. I will earn this X amount in the future or whatsoever. It was just enjoying the game, giving my heart and soul for the game, in trainings. Putting in the hard work. Of course, my father always emphasized that if you want to be special, you need to do something extra. So,
oh my gosh,
for me, that statement always stuck with me. So, whereby they say nobody sees your what you go through behind the scenes. They only see the success, that you lifting a trophy, lifting a cup, whatsoever. But the process that you go through to actually get to that level, nobody sees that. So I think from a relatively young age, I went through that part, individually or together with my teammates or the teams that I played with my family. So I think it set me up. Looking back right now, it set me up in a good way for football, and also for my life after football, because the values still the values instilled in me were still, I still hold dear to them right to this day. Yeah.
So I just want to ask, like, at such a young age, right? I mean, your training regime definitely changed over time. But during that period where you have to study, and so it's after school, like, do you start your training after school or before school, and after school you also start training?
Okay, so for me, it was quite tough actually, especially in my secondary school, because I was involved for the school team. I was involved for the national youth team. At the same time, I was playing on the weekends for like the Center of Excellence. Back then, that's what they called. We were classified into like North, South, East, North, South, East zone, kind of like the best talents in each zone. We will play for the respective zones. So there were, from my school, St. Gabriel's Secondary, we had like 3 of us who were in the same team for all 3 of the teams. So after trainings were after school, so we finished like 1:32-ish.
Right.
And the school training will be like at 3 p.m. and then we will rush off to national team training at 5:30, without actually even telling the school coach, So those were the kind of moments that me and my buddies we had, we had such a love for football, but of course we wanted to be with our friends, go there, play with them, have fun and train really hard. And I think it was just back then that we enjoyed being together with your football kakis and not just kick about, not just any Sunday football kind of thing, but it was actually on a day-to-day basis. So it's actually a lot of sacrifice, to be honest. So
I can only imagine.
My day can start as early as 6:30 for school, and then I can get back home as late as like 8 p.m. And of course, on top of that, you have to do your schoolwork, your homework, and all that kind of stuff. So on an extended period, right, you can actually be tired and fatigued and like say, hey, I don't want to do this, I'm going to give up.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we kept each other going lah. I say me and my buddies lah. We always support each other. Hey, let's take today we are tired. Let's share money. Get a cab. Back then got no Grab, right? So let's get or sometimes we just take the bus. We run to training. So those are the kind of things that it was really nice. Looking back right now lah, I think we did a lot of things together. We kept each other going, and looking back, it's something that I hold valuable to myself.
Like fond memories of
Fond memories, yeah.
So one of the main thing why I can sort of half relate with you, right, is that there are many guys like, for example, myself, probably I would say that I think there are some people who have some talents out there. But then they did not break through that resistance barrier. That resistance barrier can be like your parents, your friends, peer pressure. Like, for example, your friends can be like, hey, Hariss, let's go to the mall. I know I have to go training. How about tomorrow? I have to go training. How about the day after? So, and it can be very, very painful sometimes, right? You got to tell your very, very good friend, hey, so sorry, I cannot join you in the mall. I have to go train. And because of those very moments, right, it builds up, and plus you have a community. So I guess community is very important. If you're doing this alone, you probably give up at the early stage. And you also have very good role models like your dad to tell you that, hey, you want to be special, you got to do something out of the ordinary. So cool. So 16 years old, you joined a Nike program, the next thing, right? Or is it the program called Next?
The Next,
Yeah, the Next. So you won, and then you went to Barcelona. And then you captained the team. So why did they choose you as the captain back then?
I have no idea why.
It's like randomly scissors, paper, stone. Then you get the...
No, I think probably because we were there for a week or so. They probably saw the way that I played or the way that I carry myself. It was nothing out of the ordinary. For me, it's just how I do things from a young age. So I guess the coaches saw that in me amongst all the other players to actually lead this team. So it was quite an honor for me to actually captain the kind of Asian youth team there.
And you won the MVP after the competition.
Won the MVP after that competition. So we played like 2 games there, and
And despite winning the MVP, it wasn't easy to break into the Europe market either, right?
No, it wasn't, of course, because at that level, I'm sure everybody or most people, football fans, would have learned or heard of La Masia, right? That's where the likes of Messi and Iniesta and all came from. And the level is actually quite high, even at the youth levels over there. Yeah. So for us, we were able to compete, but it's not easy because the technical level is at a different stage altogether, even at that young age. So
Like, do you think that they are just purely gifted, or they have a training program that make them so?
I think it's a bit
so
of
sharp.
Both. I think the training that they do in La Masia is catered, or they have a certain what do you call, concept or way of playing, and they believe in that all the way, and they go out there, do the scouting for throughout Spain to look for youngsters from all over Spain, right, who fit their kind of criteria to play for Barcelona. And then of course not everybody makes it, we know, right? Only a handful who may make it to the first team eventually, but you already can see the talent in the youth teams, even back then when I was there as a young player. And if you look at stats also, like players like Adama Traore and all, they are players who actually product of that academy but didn't make it to the first team. You know, they had to go out on loan. They have to play in other clubs. So that itself already can tell you the level that the youth level is at in Spain, or actually in Barcelona. Yeah.
So if 16-year-old you, right, standing there watching the La Masia players, and today, if you were to watch these players, the new generation, do you think that the skill level has improved, or it has been always the top notch?
Well, I think it's always been top notch lah. Of course, the game has improved or changed leaps and bounds over the years. What football is today and what football is maybe 15, 20 years ago is totally different. Of course, the goal doesn't change, in the sense that you have to outscore your opponent to win the game. You know, that is still there. You still get games who 4-3, we end up in 4-3, 1-0, 1-1, whatever the scoreline. But in today's game, you have VAR, you have so many other rules that was not existent 15, 20 years ago. So in that sense, game has changed. I think the speed of the game also has changed. Now I would say football players are more athletes. I'm talking about world football generally, right? They're more athletes. They can run at a high speed. They can their endurance is much more compared to maybe 15, 20 years ago, where there were more technical players. So where you can see your Zidanes, your Ronaldinhos, you know, back then. And it was actually such a joy to watch those players play. But the excitement these days is a little bit different, in the sense that it's more transition football. You see counter-attacking, one team going up the other end, and then you have to go back. You know, it's like full of speed. And that is also somewhat exciting also for the normal football fan lah.
I guess if you watch it live, then you feel a little bit more excitement.
Yeah, of course, with the atmosphere, you know, you cannot buy that when you are in a full house stadium, like whether it's here in Singapore or overseas, wherever it is. Of course, in overseas, it's a little bit more different. Depends on the culture that you are in, whether you are in England or in Spain. The atmosphere created is a little bit different lah. But of course, here in Singapore also, it's quite magical lah. Sometimes when we play in the national stadium, when we played Thailand recently, end of 2023, when we played Malaysia in various AFF cups, I think it's quite a magical atmosphere. And actually the one that stands out is during COVID, when we played Indonesia in the semi-finals of the AFF. It was only 10,000 crowd. It was what, one fifth of the total max capacity, but the fans were so loud. So the atmosphere was like nothing that I've played in before. You know, it really gives you goosebumps. So atmosphere, fan support, it really does play a big part in football.
I see. How do you handle the pressure? Because I have spoken to, I fortunately had a lot of top athletes in Singapore as my clients. So they mentioned that actually skill level, if let's say there is no audience and they play together with their strongest competitors, right? They do notice that their skill level is very much the same. But when you put them in the pressure with the crowds and all that, right? The differential experience will be the mental power that they have to overcome at that point of time. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, mentality is very important in sport. I would say as important or more important than your physical capabilities or your technical skills. Of course, and I totally agree. I think skill level, you know, even some of our players or players around the region in Southeast Asia, right, may even compare to the top players in the world. But what set the top players apart is their mentality. So when you fall, what do? Do you sink further down, or do you get up, go again, you know? So that actually sets apart but the best and the rest. So I think in football is no different. For myself also, when I was younger, inexperienced, you play in big crowds, you get the nerves, you start to think too much. But I'm lucky enough that I have good teammates or experienced teammates around me to guide. Coaches, or even one of my youth coaches, Kadir Aya, was saying he was an ex-player, experienced in playing many stadiums or sellout crowds, and he just said, if you don't know what to do, just run. Just run, because in that way you won't have time to look at the crowd, think of anything, just run. It's as simple as that. But to execute it is difficult lah. So like when we play in Bukit Jalil Stadium in Kuala Lumpur,
Right.
88,000. Everybody is booing you, calling you all sorts of names. Singapore this, Singapore that.
And you can hear them.
And you can hear.
You can hear the remark. I always thought it's like a bunch of noises.
No, you can hear it, but they are doing it together. Yeah, and then they are saying your father this, your mother that. It's quite normal. They will try to
Get into your head.
to provoke you.
Okay.
But it's just how you focus yourself, get yourself into the zone, how you psych yourself. Okay, look, once I step out of the tunnel onto the pitch, I'm in my zone. I can hear noise, but that's all it is. I'm not hearing what they are saying, what they are shouting, good or bad. Of course, if it's good, when you score a goal, you can feel everything. But when it's bad, that's when you want to filter it out. So I think it's a process. It takes time. It takes experience to actually know how to do this. So I'm lucky enough that, throughout my career, I've been able to do that and actually learn how to do that over time. Yeah.
I see. So 16 years old, right? S-League had a requirement that you have to be 18 years old and above to join.
Yep.
How come they made that exception for you?
I have no idea, but I have read about it. At that point of time, I had no clue about that idea. Obviously, I was just 16, right? And then there was talks about me being promoted to the under-23 team, play for the Young Lions, and so on and so forth. And when I heard about that, I was like, hey, bring it on, man. I just want to play in the league, right? So I didn't really...
And even in the national team, on that very same year, you were called up to play.
Later that year. So
the youngest player.
Yeah.
Even Fandi Ahmad was only 17 years old.
I beat him by a couple of months.
Wow.
Because I was born later part of the year, so I guess that's why I was younger. But anyway, like on the matter of the rule, right? Like I'm just grateful that they made an exception or actually changed the rule. And I think after me, there's a lot more other young players who came on or came in and made their debuts at a young age in the league. Yeah, so I am not the youngest in the league anymore. I guess there's 4 or 5 of them ahead of me right now.
Right. And you mentioned about getting up every time you are brought down. You're brought down in terms of injury twice.
Yeah.
Shortly after, you joined S-League and all that, and then you had a very bad injury that had you out for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
How was that for you? I mean, you're so young, you have the whole world ahead of you. Thought you make your big break and then suddenly sit out for 1 year. How did that?
It was tough. I was, I would say, well, how old was I? I was about 17 then. Yeah, in my first year in poly. And just when you feel that everything's going nice for you, what more? How bad or what else can be better, right?
Right.
And then injury hits you unexpectedly, and then you just need to learn how to deal with it. It was a tough time for me, especially when everybody was talking about me being like youngest player and next best thing or next big thing, whatever. There was a lot of noise in that sense, for the better or for the worse. But for me, nothing changed. Nothing changed in the sense that I got injured. I can't do anything about that in the sense I cannot reverse whatever happened, so I have to look forward. So again, the community, the support system is very, very important looking back right now.
But during that 1 year, for players who got injured, how do you get involved with football and still progress? Maybe not in the physical aspect, but I don't know. How do you...
cope, you mean?
Yeah. How do you cope or rather occupy your time during that period?
Coping mechanism, right? I mean, it's a bit tough. It varies from player to player or people to people, because some... watching football may be painful because you cannot do what you love to do.
Yeah.
For others, maybe it's their way of actually staying in touch with the game. So for me, I watch football because obviously I enjoy watching football. Watch my teams play in the sense that the Young Lions that I was playing for. my poly team back then in Nanyang Poly.
So you still go to the games?
Yeah, I still go to the games, and if possible to some of the trainings to actually watch my friends or my teammates train or play. But of course, at some point of time, it does get to your head like, hey, it's been too long. I can't wait to get back, and so on and so forth. So that's where you try to back off a bit because mentally you need to stay healthy, especially in such a long injury layoff. Yeah, I think physical is important. You need to come back stronger and better than ever before, but mentally also you need to be fresh to actually get you to that stage.
Right.
So it actually goes in sync side by side, mental and physical aspect of it. Yeah.
And then after that you overcome those injuries, and then you had an opportunity to play for Rio, is it?
Yes, I had a chance to go to the
Europe club.
Portugal First Division back in 2014. 2013. Yes, I was just finishing my NS. But for other reasons, it didn't happen. And
and one of the strongest reasons was about NS, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you this question. I'm not sure if it's appropriate, but there are many young players over here. They find that being in NS or forced to go to NS is hindering their, my prime of my football or sports career. But because of NS, then they give it's almost like an excuse that it's okay to fail as a guy because you have to go NS.
Yep.
But not for you, right? You still became successful. After that. How do you overcome that?
So for me, I went through the conventional way. Okay, so I didn't go to sports school. I had to go do my N-level, O-level. I did my 3 years in Polytechnic, and then of course I have to go to NS for 2 years, right? So right now I think there's a lot of ways. There's early enlistment. There is also disruption where you can stop and pursue your dream and come back and serve the remaining part of your NS. So it depends on person to person or athlete to athlete, your sport as well. For football players, yes, I do agree. That age is prime. At that young age of, 18, 19, 20 or whatever, it's very crucial for football in terms of development. But it is what it is. In our country, NS is here to stay. We cannot change anything. We cannot do anything differently. So how do you go about it in another way? So I believe everybody have to come together. It takes two hands to clap.
Right.
So I think the athletes or football players specifically have to do their part. Try to stay fit as possible. Do what is required of you in terms of your national service. And I'm sure people will generally try to help you, if you try to help yourself. And of course, I think the authorities also will try to find a pathway for football. I think it's important that the footballers get to train. Of course, they have to fulfill their national service obligations. But outside of that, they have to be able to train their football trainings, play games during these 2 years, because it's very, very crucial for the development of the young players. So if both the athletes, the football players, the authorities, we can come up with a model whereby it's conducive for fulfilling NS obligations at the same time, being able to develop the football side of things, I think will be the best case scenario. But of course, trust is very important.
Right.
Being honest is very important. I think it has to be from both sides as well. We cannot take advantage of the system. At the same time, we have to give our best to the athlete as well as to fulfill our NS obligations, which is here to stay. We have no control over that, right? The government says that all males have to fulfill this, so we have to fulfill this. So it's just that we need to find a way how it is as best as possible, does not disrupt the development of football players. Yeah.
I see. And also, I just want to ask something really personal. I'm not sure if you're willing to share, but at the age of 23 years old, you decide to get married.
Yep.
And for footballers, you're living the life. You have, you're good looking. You have,
Not so.
I'm pretty sure that you have a lot of lady fans, right?
Yeah.
What makes you want to settle down at 23 years old?
Well, I think I met somebody that we were pretty serious about tying up, together. And then, of course, at that point of time, as I shared earlier, I had opportunity to go Europe, and I didn't really fancy the long distance kind of thing lah, and I think she also didn't fancy that as well. So we decided, hey, if we are serious about each other, why don't we just tie the knot, and go live our life together, and make a family together, and stuff, just like what we discussed lah, basically. So yes, we decided to get tied a knot at a young age, but of course, not everything is as you plan, right? I didn't go to Europe eventually, of course, for other reasons as mentioned earlier. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm still happy. There's no regrets. Very happy with the decisions that I made, and my wife has always been supportive. There was another opportunity in 2017 actually to go to Europe again, but then again it was not meant to be lah. Before, for other reasons, the club had financial issues where I was not able to get a permit to play there in Spain. So yeah, it was not meant to be again. So yeah, I had to come back to Singapore on loan for a season before I went back to Johor. So these are part of the lows or downs that I faced, because when just as I thought that I'm reaching my peak and I had the opportunity to go to Europe, my world came crashing down on me and said, oh no, like there it goes again. I don't have the chance to play in Europe. Another obstacle comes along, but it was just timely that my wife and my young daughter came about to cheer me up, and we took it like a
must be for a reason.
5-day holiday kind of, just to get the disappointment out of my system. Yeah. So but yeah, like I said, there's football is very important part of my life, but there are things as important or even more so important than like family. So I'm so grateful for the decision that me and my wife made, to tie up at a young age. In terms of enjoyment, I'm used to actually making sacrifices from a young age, so I was willing to make the sacrifice. I was not one to actually go out and enjoy or party too much, so I guess it was an easy decision for me to make. Yeah.
But I want to ask you, I mean, I might get flamed online for this, right? So I'll take the heat for you. And I've noticed a lot of Singaporeans who spoke to footballers, right, such as yourself, about the standard of football in Singapore. But I just want to, I do consider you, I mean, this is my own personal opinion, right? So I do consider you as the forerunner in terms of like, you're like the one that's leading in terms of skill level, in terms of, everything. But you being the forerunner, that could be an issue as well, because somebody in Europe, right, who is mirroring maybe Lionel Messi's his benchmark, right? So even though he falls short in the middle rank, right, but he's still his benchmark was Lionel Messi, and then how do you who do you mirror? Because the people that you're playing with, right, is of like, let's say level 8. But then you need to meet people like level 10, right, to at least have a benchmark, and know what is possible in football. How do you educate yourself, or rather get yourself in that kind of experience, although you're not in the space?
Well, I think for myself, right, when I was playing in Johor, I was playing with a lot of foreigners back then, since 2014 till I was there till 2021. A lot of foreigners came and left, and they were of a good standard. So some of them actually played in top clubs in Europe. So when they came, right, I was considered one of the best players in Singapore when I went there.
Yes.
Yeah, but in terms of a regional reputation or image, I was not really known back then. The boss actually put his trust in me. He wanted to bring in a young player and go there, and so I got the opportunity to go and prove myself.
Right.
But when I went there, and I actually realized, wow, look, the quality here it's amongst the foreign players, because I was considered a foreign player, right?
Yeah.
Singaporean playing in overseas. So it's like, oh, this is different level altogether. There were South Americans. There were where else did they come from? French players, who were like top quality, and we were, or at least my level was far off from them,
Okay.
But I had to still prove myself, because I'm a foreign player.
Right.
I have to prove my worth and that I actually do belong here. So I struggled quite a lot. I didn't play quite a bit for the beginning of the season. I started to question myself.
You were on the bench.
I was on the bench most of the time. I came on to play a couple of minutes here and there. So I started to question myself. And then after I got my break, maybe after 4, 5, 6 months, started to play more regularly in the team. And when you talk about mirroring somebody of a higher level, so I use those foreign players as a mirror, actually, their mentality, their mindset. Not only when they play the games which everybody watches, the fans in the stadium or those on TV, but actually day in, day out at training, their mindset when they go into the gym, what do they do? And so I'm secretly or quietly observing. I'll be there in the gym, but I'll be looking at like, hey, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? I'll be questioning myself.
Oh my gosh.
And actually, I would actually ask them as well. And they were nice enough to actually, share their thoughts. And so it's just, you have to be open to learning, there's no ego in that sense. For me, I've always, one of the values that I hold also is like lifelong learning. So at whichever age you are, you can always learn something new, some new experience somewhere. So in football also, till now, I wouldn't say I know everything, but I think I have gone through a fair bit of experience to understand most things. Yeah.
And actually, I'm really talking to a guy, right, that is, because as you're improving to that level, right, the young players, the players that's with you in Singapore, they're all raising their bar because they're treating you as a benchmark. So you literally, I'm talking to the guy that's bringing up Singapore's football. With that question, right, I want to ask you, what are our shots of ever getting into the World Cup?
I'll be very honest. We're still quite a way off from actually playing in the World Cup, to be honest, because like you said, the young players are improving, but our level is still not where we want to be, even in Asia. It's very far off. So I think we need to set smaller goals to actually reach the bigger target, a bigger goal, which is of course the World Cup, right? But in between, I think we need to re-establish ourselves in the region, in Southeast Asia, be the top team in Southeast Asia again, and then try to conquer Asia, where the big guns are, right? Japan, South Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and then you have to compete with these teams to actually qualify for the World Cup. So it's still quite a long shot for the World Cup, to be honest, in my opinion. I think the listeners or most people will agree with me on that. This is being realistic. But the process to get there is even more so painstaking, and also a lot of patience required from a lot of stakeholders in football. Yeah, so I think everybody has to do their part. I think now it's a little bit of, I know better than you, so you follow me kind of situation in our
not so cohesive.
More of I know better than you kind of mentality But that has not got us anywhere to this moment. We are not, I'll be very honest, we are not in the best shape in terms of football, but there's still a lot of potential to improve for us here if we do things the right way.
Because I saw the potential. I mean, I digress a little bit. You played with Lion City against Tottenham. The first half, you guys actually showed Tottenham that they can't score a goal. The only goal that went in that broke everything apart was the penalty that was, in my opinion, unfairly given. But the defense, you were defensive mid at that point of time.
I was playing defender in that game, but I played in the second half.
I see. Okay.
But then again, it was a very cohesive unit in that first half, where we kept things so tight and almost impossible for them to penetrate. So even a team of that caliber actually can find it difficult to penetrate if you are cohesive, you are playing as a unit, as a team, working for each other, running for each other. But that is the defensive side of things. So how do you actually, like I said earlier, the goal is to outscore your opponent. You need to score more than your opponent. So in the end, you need to go up there and then score the goals as well.
Which will leave your defense
exposed. But that's football, right? You need to attack, you need to defend in equal measure. So like for us right now, yes, we can play as a cohesive unit, tactical, organised and everything. But what's the difference is actually going up there at the end, making attacking plays, creativity, scoring the goals to actually get us the wins, get us the further in tournaments, and actually looking at the bigger picture, which is to conquer Southeast Asia, and eventually go to the World Cup, right? So that's where we are having a lot of trouble. Even in one-off games, even we drew in 2015 in a qualification game against Japan, we drew 0-0, and that was like a victory for us because considering Japan's status, right, as a top team in Asia, regularly qualifying for the World Cup. So like a small country like us, it's like, wow, we that 1 point is like 3 points. But we need to get out of that mentality, right? I mean, right now, of course, if we beat somebody of Japan or South Korea or Saudi Arabia's caliber, we'll be like, wow. But how do we do that on a consistent basis? How do we make sure, or how do we make people not think or say that, hey, it was a fluke? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think there are still levels that we need to conquer or go through.
But there are some glimpses of brilliance.
There is some glimpse, that no doubt. And in football, that's what we call the
beauty of it.
The beauty of it, the romance of football. You know, it gives you that hope. You know, that's why people they get very disappointed, they get very emotional, angry. But at the same time, it can give you the highs, like very happy. You hug each other. You go to the stadium. You don't know. I don't know you. You don't know me. We hug, we kiss something because our team scored a goal. You know.
Yeah.
So these kind of things do happen in football, right? Yeah. So, but I think it's a responsibility. I mean, if we are serious about football, because I personally believe football is one sport here in Singapore. No disrespect to the other sports, but that can fill the national stadium to its brim, bring people of all races, religion together, strangers together, and to actually support one common goal, one common team, no matter who is playing on that team. You know?
So as you are going to pass the baton to the new generation of players, right? How do you see your new role being to make Singapore raw again in the stadium for football?
For me, I guess whatever I've gone through in football, right, I think like I said, the experience I have makes me understand most things in football. Not all, but most things. So I like to inculcate that to the players, to the stakeholders, to share with them on opportunities, on approaches that we can actually try to help Singapore football improve, try to give our younger players the platform, the environment that is conducive for them to actually develop further, to improve their game individually as a team, to actually take us to the next step, because we need the young players. The young players are the future. I'll be more than happy to hear another player who comes in the future beats my record as the youngest international in the national team, and then they think that I mean this player goes to a status like Son Heung-min, you know, he's like an icon for Singapore football, plays in Europe. I'll be very happy to have this guy. I don't need to be there and remembered, and you know.
But you have set the benchmark so
but
far,
I'll
and
be
you'll
so happy to have someone, or not only one, maybe have multiple players, you know, playing in the big leagues in Asia first, Japan, South Korea, or maybe in the Middle East, because now there's a lot of recognition, and the level is quite competitive in Saudi Arabia, right? Like, so if our players can even aspire to actually go towards that pathway, and then we can think about going to Europe, because in Europe it's a totally different ball game altogether, right? So I think we need to take the small baby steps before we get to the big goal. Yeah.
And right now as we speak, I think there are a lady who's playing for Dortmund.
Yep.
I forgot her name. And then there are Fandi Ahmad's son is in Europe right now. All the best to him. And of course, you definitely have set the pace very, very well. Last final question about your personal life. How in the world you take care of 3 kids, right, while being the pro footballer you are? I mean, I have one kid, I really know, and many of our audiences are actually family. How we got together is like, the real estate, and then a lot of families, they want to upgrade, right size, this kind of thing. Yeah. So a lot of families, they're really struggling with a normal job. Yours is I don't know how you do it, man.
I think it all boils down to what you want. I think me and my wife, right, we got hitched at a young age, and then we wanted to have kids, start our own family. So we enjoy it. I mean, I'm not saying that it's all nice and rosy all the time. We all know it's, a lot of ups and downs as well with the kids, right? Because they are growing up, they have different emotions, and
you have helper,
and I do have a helper as well. So it helps in that sense. But I think we just need to enjoy the ride lah. Yeah, because when something gets difficult, or circumstance gets difficult, my wife always tells me that they are young only once. They're going to grow out of it, and then when we are older, we're going to miss all this. Like the cries, the laughters, So we try to turn that point where we are feeling irritated or angry, like, into a positive thing. Like, okay, let's embrace this in a way. It's not easy, but you need to psych yourself up for that.
Right. Okay. pretty sure many of the parents, including myself, can feel what you just said. So let's talk about the rosy stuff. The final thing about football before we jump into your real estate knowledge, right? Because I think the audience are very excited to know your perspective, because your perspective could be giving us a new elevation of information of how we can navigate the property space. So I want to ask you about the rosy stuff about football. I mean, besides football, obviously there's the endorsement, there is the and your manager is George Mendes, is it?
No, Josh Mendes was actually he's known as a super agent in world football, because he's the agent for Cristiano Ronaldo and a few top players, right?
And he manages your portfolio.
No, he doesn't manage my portfolio directly, but the opportunity that I got to go in 2013 was actually he was actually part of that deal. So he kind of like brokered or prepared that chance for me to go to
So he's
Portugal.
basically like a player agent.
Yeah, but he's not directly involved with me. He was just involved part of the deal to actually bring me to Portugal. And then of course for other reasons, like I was still serving my national service, I couldn't leave before my ORD, and of course other like financial reasons and so on, that I couldn't go. So yeah, that broke down. And to answer your question, no, he's not my agent.
But you spoke with him, and then did he share with you some valuable information on how to train?
I think like the only thing is like spoke to him and the coach. Like the only thing is like they were looking forward to having me at the club, Yeah, but after that, when things got broke down, the negotiations or the move broke down, there was really nothing much to talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then like endorsement wise, obviously, a lot of brands would like you to, put your face out there and carry it. So I guess that is the lucrative part of the job as well, nah?
Well, yes, I think it's more so later part of my career, because of course social media came about. I think a lot more online presence, right? And of course influencers and all these kind of things came about. So I think that came about later part of my career. For earlier part, when I was a young player, not too much, maybe just with Nike, because Nike was the kid sponsor for the national team. So there were a couple of campaigns that was done for them. But of course, in recent time, there are, for me personally, there were some brands that reached out to to see how we can work together, collaborate, and it's quite an interesting aspect of being an athlete. I think times have changed, so you have to learn how to adapt and move along. If you follow my social media presence, I'm not so active before I became a real estate agent. So after I became a real estate agent, I realized that actually it's part of the job. It's part of the times that we are in right now. You have to actually do social media to show your presence. So yeah, I'm glad to do that. I'm learning at the same time. So hopefully listeners out there will help and engage me as well.
Definitely, man. I just want to share with the audience today that, I'm sitting in front of a guy, right, that I can feel super solid, like in terms of your composure. Like, I think if I try to like scare you somehow, or whatever, you're just like unshaken. So I guess in negotiation, and in real estate, the deals can get very pressurized, right? Come on, man, you have like tens of thousands of people screaming bad things about you, right? That never moved you.
Yeah.
And in real estate deals, you'll be nothing, and you probably get the best deal for your clients. So I will vouch for you. Okay, I think one very interesting thing, have you ever met like a very big player, right? And then he gave you like very solid advice about football?
I'm not okay. So I played with or against a couple of big names throughout my career. But I've never been one to actually go and exchange jersey, because obviously all my other teammates will be rushing to them, So I'm just, after game, I'm just too tired to go and,
And you're very giving.
Yeah.
Actually, the real reason you're very giving, I can tell. You just like, never mind, let my, because you're a captain, you just want your team members to actually enjoy the experience.
Yes.
But then you deprive yourself from that moment of execution.
So I would just make it a point to actually go up to them, acknowledge them and shake their hand and say, good game, So I've never really had the opportunity to actually engage with them in a conversation. Or,
When Cristiano Ronaldo was here, did you manage to speak to
no,
him?
I've never met Cristiano Ronaldo in person. Yeah, so but I did play against big names like Paul Pogba, Andres Iniesta, Pablo Aimar. Pablo Aimar was my teammate in Johor. So for a couple of months. So really wonderful experience to learn of a player like him. What a player he was even in training. So yeah, I think playing against these big players actually rub off a lot just to see how they carry themselves, how they play, like the level. You talk about mirroring them, right? So the level that they are at. Yeah, and for me, in terms of advice, I think that itself is already a kind of advice to just observe and learn and look at their actions. Yeah.
I see. Okay. What's your advice for the young players coming up?
Well, for me, I think discipline and dedication is very, very important for young players, because if you really want to make a career out of football, or matter of fact for anything in any industry, I think you need to dedicate yourself to learning, to developing yourself, and you have to be disciplined actually, to put in the hard work. Listen to the people that matter, your superiors, your coaches, or whatever, and try to always improve on a day by day basis, day to day basis. You know, it is a process. It's a long process. You have to be patient. Success doesn't come instantly. It may take months, years even. So for me, I think these two, dedication and discipline, is very, very important. And lastly, enjoy the game, because if you don't enjoy the game, I think it is very, very difficult to play football. Yeah, football, when you ask me or you ask anybody, what is football? You just kick a ball, it's called also football, you know?
Yeah.
But to actually enjoy the game, what the game means, you know, playing together with your friends, your teammates, be it just a kickabout or a professional game, I think it's important to actually have fun, enjoy the game. But of course, for professional side, we have to find the balance, have fun, but also the serious stuff. Yeah.
Like get better every day.
Yep.
So you want to embark onto, or rather you already started embarking on real estate. Why real estate business? You got so many opportunities. Everybody wants Hariss Harun to be, you know, you can even be a advisor, you can be a ambassador for my brand. Easy money for you, but why would you go in the real estate?
Now we talk about real estate.
Yes, let's talk about real estate.
So like, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you asked. Okay, so like real estate, I have mentors or people around me. I mean, I was earning good money from a certain point in my career, right? So they will advise me, hey, don't waste money on anything. Don't waste money on car. Don't waste money on this, on that, and don't invest anyhow. But invest in property. Then it intrigues you, like, why, right? Like, why property? And then of course you read up, you talk to people, and then, you know, they say, oh, property in Singapore, you can do this, you can rent this, you can rent that, you can flip, you can, you know. So I was like, oh, okay, and you know, so when I was getting to my late 20s, right, I started to be a bit more have a bit more interest in the property market here in Singapore. But of course, I didn't think of becoming a real estate agent or property agent, for matter of fact. And then I think when I hit my 30, I was 30, exactly 30, COVID came about.
Okay.
At the same time, I got injured just before COVID. Long injury as well. And not many people know that I was injured, because of course COVID took center stage, right? Everybody was talking about COVID. What's this new virus lah? Then you have quarantine and the borders were closed and this and that, blah blah blah. So nobody knew I was injured. So I decided to take this opportunity to actually set myself up for when I retire, because I was already 30. I had to be realistic. I have a family, I have a house, I have 3 kids. You know, what am I going to do after my football career? I don't know how long more I can play. So I told myself, okay, I go and get a bachelor's degree. I did business marketing. At the same time, not too long after I made that decision, I met my mentor in real estate, Fawaz. We had a chat. Was introduced to us by he was introduced to me by another of our mutual friend. So we sit down, we had a talk, and I actually thought like, hey, look, this is something that I always had interest in. People advising me from a young age. I was checking out the property market, like what to do, how to do, what to invest on, and so on and so forth. In my late 20s, the timing is quite apt. You know, it's COVID. I have a bit of time because I'm injured. Free time in that sense to actually learn something new. So I was like, okay, let's give it a shot, go take my course, apply for the exams, study for the exams.
And you passed first time.
No, I didn't. So I think you can
Most
actually,
people don't pass first time.
yeah, but I really hats off to those who actually passed first time and both papers on the first try. It is a very, very tough exam to not only pass, to even study for, to actually understand the concept and whatever there is.
For you to say that, I tell you, the audience will believe you. It's going to be very tough.
Yeah, it was really tough. I will actually be very honest and tell you that I underestimated the paper quite a bit. I did my first exam, paper 1 and paper 2. Came out of it feeling very confident, thought that I was going to pass. I even actually went to buy an iPad to actually be an agent.
Right.
So when the exam came, results came out, I was like, oh no, So then I took it a bit more seriously. I know what is expected of it. Started to study a bit more intensely. A lot of migraine, a lot of headache, long hours. And then on my second attempt, so I took four attempts to actually pass both papers. So on my second attempt, I passed my paper 1. Third attempt, I failed my paper 2, and then on my fourth attempt, I passed my paper 2. So I was able to clear it before my 2-year validity for the course was up.
Yeah. Right. Okay. What sort of properties, were you, have you invested in those properties when you were scouting for it?
Yeah, okay. So it was more of analysis back then, before in my late 20s, to see what I can go into and so on. So at that point of time, I was staying in a sale of balance flat in Punggol, 5-room flat. So it was reaching MOP as well. And me and my wife was like, hey, let's try to move on from here. But the ladies, they have a bit more of a sentimental or emotional attachment to the property, right? So I was the one like, hey, let's just take this chance. We are still young. In terms of affordability, we can try to take that plunge. So why not? So I decided to go for a new launch. This was all before I became an agent. So I decided to go for a new launch at Affinity. Yeah, so the interesting thing about this is like I was in Johor. I didn't view the unit. I was not at the show flat. My wife did all that. So I just said yes, go for it by video call. Yeah. So but my wife wanted to buy a resale condo because she likes the space and whatnot, right? But I was more of forward thinking because we were young. We had a long runway in terms of investment or flipping, as we call it in the industry, right? And I wanted to make use of that by getting a new launch or new.
How big was the unit?
It's a 3-bedroom unit, yeah, and it's a patio unit. So I hope so. So now that was based on my very rookie, or I would say limited knowledge, those decisions that I made. It was like people talking here and there. So I just thought, okay, let's take the punch for a new launch. And my wife decided to follow my decision lah. So she dropped her resale condo. Now that I'm an agent, right? So when I look back, I'm glad I made the right call in a way lah. I hope I'll be proved right in the coming years.
You have proven right already.
Yeah,
you really made money.
But what we do from here on also is a way to show that we are making the right move lah. So I think it's very important now that we are agents, right? We understand that when you exit and when you enter into the market is very important lah. Timing is very important lah. Just like in football lah, timing is very important.
Did you buy the residence you were in, the landed property in JB, or you were renting?
I was renting in JB. So a lot of people actually, or my teammates in Malaysia or Malaysian friends were saying, hey, why don't you buy one in JB, one in Kuala Lumpur? But to me, it was like I wanted to sort myself out in my own
country
first, in my own backyard first, before I actually invest in overseas properties, But also at that point of time, like in Johor, yes, I think there was potential for investment, but not as much as in Singapore. Because in Johor or in Malaysia, for matter of fact, there was a lot of supply.
Right.
Yeah, oversupply. Yeah, but there was not much demand. And it was proven right during COVID, where a lot of the expats left. And you can see that all the houses emptied. And then there was oversupply. Nobody was coming in. Everything was or you would say developments were ghost towns, Yeah, so I was glad that actually I I decided to focus on here in Singapore first, because obviously we are locals here, right?
Right.
To sort that part out first.
So Affinity, I mean, collected keys last year already.
Yep, mid of last year.
So you guys have already moved in?
Yeah, we just moved in before the new year, because my kids
Oh,
are going.
wow.
My kids' school around the vicinity. I mean, around the development in the Serangoon North area.
Right.
So we had to move before the new year. So we managed to finish. I had to still do some minor renovations to our liking. We managed to do all that and get it ready before the new year. Yeah.
And I just want to share with the audience some of the plus point of entering into Affinity right now.
Yeah.
So obviously during the new launch, the sub sale period, right? Anybody who bought really made money already.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward, right, the next progressive asset progression in terms of capital appreciation for Affinity will be the MRT Serangoon North, which is probably 8 to 10 minutes walk away from Affinity.
Yeah.
And in Serangoon right now, there's only one project that is nearby the MRT. I mean, we talk about the large project, not the boutique project. Only one large one, which is near Serangoon MRT. But then for Affinity, if one Serangoon North come out, right, it will be the second one.
Yep.
So in terms of scarcity wise, people like big project because the facility is good and also Affinity being very young and the finishing is very good. Even the developers did very good job in terms of the finishing inside.
Yes.
It's nicer than a lot of sub-sale that was that TOP at that moment. So by 2029 or 2030, Serangoon North MRT will be coming up. And right now, Affinity, you really got all the HDB plazas and everything, which is like very, very, very convenient. Your barber shop, supermarket, coffee shop,
all within walking distance. Yeah.
So once, and then a lot of people, when I was trying to sell Affinity at that point of time, they say, 2030 is a very long period of time for the MRT to come up, But I always like to tell people 2030 is a very significant year for Singapore real estate market. The reason is because the population, right, is we are targeting to grow to 6.5 to 6.9 million. Right now we're about 5.7, 5.8 million. In current population standing. So when the population grow, demands grow. And then obviously, people get priced out from the CBD area. So renters, tenants, buyers, they got outpriced. Then now they go to the city fringe, right? Then you go to Affinity. Then Serangoon North, you are probably like 8-9 stops to Orchard Road, and you got a switch train here and there, So it becomes very, very accessible, and that's where I think the price will come out for Affinity.
So I think the potential is there. It's just whether you want to capitalize on it or not. And of course, like we spoke about it, it's all about timing, right? Some people and like we emphasized just now, or at least I emphasized just now, patience in football, right? So I think in real estate, patience is also very key. Yeah, you need to look at the bigger picture. Not only what you can do in the next 1-2 years, but actually maybe in the next 10 years, like what you want to achieve, right? So when we meet clients, we also always ask, what is your goal? What is your target? You want to just simply buy and sell, which we do, but you buy and sell for what purpose? So what do you want to achieve in the next 10 years? Where do you see yourself in the next 20 years? So I think that it's very important. And like I said, I was glad that actually with my limited knowledge, I made the right call. Yeah.
All right. And then for the clients that you're speaking to, because you have so many clients, right? And then you spoke to them, what are the common concerns that they have? I mean, one of them being the uncertain market right now, high interest rate. What are the other concerns and how would you address it?
Well, I think the interest rates is one. Of course, it's quite high. And then, of course, there's always the talk of, I sell high, but I have to buy high as well. I'm sure you get that as well, right? Yeah. So I think it's more about the value of your asset. Property, you want to make it your asset, and of course the value. Because like I said, what do you want to achieve? I always ask the client, what do you want to achieve? Eventually, we know that Singapore is one of the most expensive cities to live in the world right now. In the future, we don't know, but it looks like it's going to stay that way for quite a while. So what is I don't know, 2 million now may not be the value of 2 million in 20-30 years. So we all have kids. We are all family people. We worry naturally for what it will be during our kids' time. So do you want to leave something for them? Do you want to have something to retire with? Your worth your assets. So I think when you make plans or decisions right now, it has to be with an eye or with a goal of what you want to achieve when at your retirement age, be it 55, 60, 65 or 70, whatever it is, to make sure that you set yourself set up yourself well for the retirement, to enjoy, go on holidays, live in a decent place, maybe give some money for your kids for whatever university education or
house down payment.
You never know, right? Like we know what's the situation going to be like during their time, and it's already at quite a high value right now. So it's very important, like an HDB, for example, which is 600,000 right now. You can live very comfortably, pay off with your CPF or your cash, but it will always be that value, 600,000. Or with decaying lease, you will even drop further. So 600,000 today may not be 600,000 in 10 years. You will probably be less, right? But for a condo, likewise, if you exit at the right time, you enter into a new property at the right time, and you flip, especially those who are younger and have a longer runway, you can actually potentially build up your value of your property over time with the right timing. Yeah, and of course, when we are 55, 60, whatever age, when it's just you and your wife, your kids are probably married or studying overseas, and you think like, this house is too big for me, I need to cash out, and you have that value there, and then you can always go to an HDB 3-room, be comfortable there, or even you can go to a 2-bedroom condo, be comfortable there. So it's actually, there's no right or wrong, there's no what I would say one way of doing things. There's always different perspective, different options for different people. In the end, is ultimately what you want. But is realizing when I tell people, when they ask me, you sell high, you buy high, it's just realizing that the value of whatever you are buying now or whatever you are selling now, it will not be the same when it is 20 years from now. Yeah.
So in regards to the sell high and buy high, right? I would also like to challenge that thought to many of the audiences out there. I share with you my own personal experience. As we are speaking right now, the last 6 months I lost money, by not doing anything to my property. So I already MOP is a EC lah.
Okay.
We are sitting on a profit about 400 to 500K. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
I really spotted places for my own clients, right, which I know I can afford it one. If I were to sell, use the profit and move over, right, I'm not so stretching, right, I can do it one. But I was thinking, I sell high, also buy high, what's the difference? So one of the areas I was spotting was like maybe Bartley area, Potong Pasir area, Woodley area. So those places in the short span of 1.5 years, right, 200 to 300 plus PSF for the units that I was looking at. So for my own client, I did right. They bought, wow, super happy, My current place, right, stayed at where it was. Okay. So I'm still sitting at the same 500K, but if I were to make the same jump, I would have elevated my 500,000 profit to 750,000, right, in 1.5 years.
So it's about timing,
right?
About timing, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's absolutely right. You're a playmaker, and I see that your thought process. I'm speaking to you for close to is quite we have to probably stop it soon already in terms of the podcast. But your mind is like for your clients, you're thinking from many perspectives for them, and that's very, very important, because you never know. When we talk about our opponent, our enemy, we have a common enemy, which is inflation, which is a market downturn, which is high interest rate. How do we navigate this and win our opponent at the end of the day? So I think you're doing very, very right. So do you have any advice, right, for sellers and buyers navigating today's market?
Well, I think I'll just generalize it. I think for people or for property owners or to be property owners, I think it's actually very important what you want to achieve. I think in the current market, of course, with the recent cooling measures that came in last year and the year before, there's a lot of limitations in that sense, but there's also a lots of options that we can explore. So I think the agent's job is very important here, to actually engage somebody who understands your needs, who can strategize and plan for you and your family, what they need and what you want in the coming years. So nothing specific for buyers and sellers, but I think it's just sitting down with the agent and trying to whoever it may be, to try to find out what is the best solution for your family. Actually, even as easy as doing a property health check, like how is your HDB, for example, doing right now? Are you sitting on a negative? Is your profit eroding?
Right.
Yeah. So is it the apt time to leave now, or in terms of your CPF, what can you do? Can you do voluntary contribution to actually have more profits, cash proceeds in there? So it's just exploring what your current situation is, and then of course from there, an agent would be able to strategize and advise you what you can do, what you should buy, or whether you should sell now, and how much you can sell. So I think the role of the agent, I think in recent times, has been undermined, for various reasons. But I think the role of the agent is very, very important. I think it helps give the client foresight in what they need to do or what they should do, in fact. Yeah.
Okay, and this advice is totally free, and I can get it directly from the Singapore captain.
Of course, anytime.
Captain of Singapore. Could you let our audience know, right? How can they reach you if they want to find out this free advice?
Well, you can contact me via WhatsApp at 82866857. I'll be more than happy to share with you what I know and try to help you as much as I can. Yep.
Unbelievable. The captain of Singapore guiding you through the property market. Okay. So thank you so much for being here in the podcast. We definitely overrun because time just like flashes past us.
Especially when you're having fun, man.
Yeah,
so man. I told you, like, I'm up for this because I have fun. Happy to share my experience and knowledge. Of course, we talk football more than real estate, but I'm very happy to actually come on board and talk about real estate, and of course at the same time learn from you as well.
Yeah. And so sorry, you gotta fetch your son, right?
Yeah.
So family man.
Duties, man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. If you stay tuned all the way to the end, right, I'm pretty sure that you have learned something about property. You learned something about the tenacity and resilience of the Singapore captain. Sharing his life journey of how he became starting from scratch to successful, and we believe the same for you, especially in this lunar Chinese New Year. So thank you so much once again, Hariss Harun, and we'll see you again on the next episode of Real Talk Real Estate.